Well, actually, funny you say that. I was thinking about these talks, and I haven't been here for the last few weeks, so I'm not really very current. But when I first introduced myself, I was very, um, it was the tail end of the UK lockdown, and I introduced myself as a social host, as connected to. I'm the social host primarily for Khazak Ladies organisation, but I also run my own Facebook group. And I spoke about my sort of professional life, and I forgot that I didn't actually say anything really about my personal life. So I'm really happy to give like a 2-minute overview of that, if that's what you'd like to hear.
Yes, we would. We want to know more about Maxine. Lovely Maxine.
Okay.
We do.
I think the first time I was actually on this Zoom, I was introduced, my computer, my Zoom name was Moshe Levy.
Right.
Then it went to Max or Maxine, and now I'm Robbie Elias, which is my husband.
Right.
He has been my partner for the last 32 years.
Oh, by the way, it's our 38th wedding anniversary today.
Oh,
Hey.
anniversaries are great. So we have 4 biological children, 4 biological sons, and 1 non-biological who joined us a couple of years ago. And actually, maybe it's the loving world. I mean, my sons are amazing, but I think that in the last sort of 6 months, especially working with Khazak, I've learned a lot about myself, and coming on these groups, I sort of learn a lot about human nature, and during lockdown, I've seen so many amazing things. But actually, I wanted to say something about biological and non-biological, because really, I think it's something that my husband, very Sephardi man, has sort of, when we were younger, and I said, I really want 6 kids, but I'd like to adopt 2. And he was absolutely adamant that he could never love another child that wasn't biologically ours. And our son, Ace, non-biological son, Ace, came to us 2 years ago, although he joined our family friendship circle about 4 years ago. And we knew his background. He really, tormented child. But we saw a lot of love in him, and we saw a lot of potential, a huge potential in him. And so the situation came that actually we decided to take him in. And actually it was my eldest son, Benji, who's 19, who's going off to uni in 4 weeks, who actually made the final decision, because they were the same age, and it was really important for him during A-levels to and set his boundaries, and he didn't really know how to. But actually, in the last 2 years, we've learned that you can really, really love another human being as your own, as a biological, and the only difference is that you actually learn more from someone that somewhat isn't yours, that's just been gifted to you. We have learned so much more as a family about ourselves than I could have, and I've almost had like a little bit of a jump start in parenting because of him, because the things that, like, he comes to me every day for advice, every single day, and it drives me up the wall. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, but the reality is I was wondering why it drives me up the wall, and I realised the reason why is because my own biological children don't ask for my advice. I know, Mum, all I want to do is the good for them. And I argue with him as much as I argue with my other sons. But I realised that love as a parent doesn't really mean like what we sort of expect it to mean. And in a certain sense, it also shows that, if we believe in one God or 25 gods, whatever your belief is, that's fine. But that's a fatherhood. And actually, this non-biological relationship reminds me of that fatherhood. It's not mine, but there's mine in it. That's what I thought I'd share with you. But anyway, the last thing actually I'll say is that him, Ace, and my son, my eldest son, Benji, are both leaving me in the next month and a half, and I'm devastated. So I know that you may have seen my dog once before as a little thing, but I'm actually getting another one. And I highly, highly recommend that to anyone that needs to let their children or their life fly, and needs something else to grab onto. So you might see that in a few months. And that's my story. That's my story.
You're amazing. What an amazing story.
Oh, Nikki, you look my gold heart, you are.
I'd like to say, Maxine, that if we didn't have these rules of social distancing, and if I wasn't 3,000 miles away from you, I would now give you a massive hug, because I loved what you said, and I totally connected to everything that you said.
Thank you. I love hugs, so I'll take them from anyone.
And Maxine, I did what you did when my two boys went to university at the same time. I got very broody, and I already had a dog. I got a second dog, and I have to tell you, it was a mistake.
Oh no! You know, I'm choosing the bounciest, most boisterous dog that there is in, you know, a boxer. They're just okay. All bounce. I'm like 15 years from babyhood. I don't know what I'm doing, honestly, but anyway. Thank you.
Good luck.
Good to have you. Thanks.
I can give you some pointers if you need.
Show me the nearest dog walker.
I have a good one. Okay.
Who's the dog walker?
Oh, she's a special girl called Alex. Yeah, she needs dogs in her life. She walks.
I have a question. What, without probing into private questions, what sort of questions does your son Ace ask?
Well, he's not really socializing so much with girls. The social thing at the moment has been like on lockdown, so we haven't grown to that point of our relationship. But I will be standing under the chuppah. He's a fitness trainer. When he first came to me, it was the only thing that he could be that he had the ability to do because of circumstance, not ability. And so, but he wasn't feeling very motivated by it. And I talked to him about business and about relationships and connecting with his clients. He's now, in the last 6 months, he's taken two more exams, and he is at the top level of fitness training, and he's doing amazing work. He's giving out to a lot of charity stuff, which is amazing. But I'm teaching him about boundaries. I think that's the main business, and boundaries. That's amazing.
Wow.
And laundry and cooking as well.
Can I ask something? How did he come into your life, Maxine?
So Benji was friendly, like a football Shabbat friendship. He came from Hasmonean primary school, secondary school, and my house is an open door, so he was in my house, and he's very, very, at that time he had no boundaries, so he came full on with his story, which I've taught him since not to define himself by, and as I heard more of his story, we were in a position that we were able to take him in, and as long as I say, Benji was happy with that, which took Benji a 3-month decision making. I mean, he actually, I did I'm the only girl in the house, so I did the hysterical crying with mascara down my face, stormed out the house. No one told me I had mascara on my face, walked to Brent Street, because they'd all said, no, we can't have him, it's just not going to work. I walked to Brent Street with black mascara down my face, but not like sort of like gentle black. I mean, shameless. But 3 months later, we took him in, and it was the best decision. The best.
Amazing. I feel for you with all the boys.
Sorry?
I feel for you with all the boys.
Yes. I just actually met recently a lady who has, similar to me, I had 4 under 4 years and 3 months, so she has 4 under 4 boys. So I said to her, I'm very happy to, she's in business, so I'm happy to do a little role swapping. She can be my business mentor, and I could be her parenting mentor. But Joyce, I'll definitely take you up on that offer. Thank you.
And how old was he when he joined your family?
He was just 18, and he was about to be evicted from his foster family, who taught him love, by the way. They taught him love, a lot of love. And he was going to be homed temporarily in an area that was just not suitable for him. The shame was, in the foster system, he was told 8 months before his removal, and that gave him 8 months to panic. And it was, there's certainly better ways in order to tell people bad news. I definitely believe that.
Wow.
So yeah, we had 8 months of decision making, but 3 months ultimately. Yeah.
Amazing. An 18-year-old, that's really hard to take into the home and to learn to love. But it showed.
Yeah, another boy.
Amazing.
Sorry. Yeah, it was. It's a great thing. But I have to say, I give the full credit to Benji, because really he was going to have his A levels. We were moving house. There was going to be a lot of things that were going to affect his abilities and his, his future. But as I said to him, you know what would you say to your brothers if they came in with A level, like in the midst of your studying? And he's a worker, he likes to study in his space. And I said, what would you say to them? I can't tell you what his answer was. There were a few expletives in there. And I said, well, then that's how you will manage your new sibling. And he said, fine.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great.
Wow. The human beings are beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing indeed. Does anybody else have any questions before we move on? Okay. So last week we were also going through everybody, because we were doing the summary. Tulani inspired us to actually do the summary page, and we were asking, what did you get out of this section so far on respect? And a few people answered, but not everybody was here then. I think, I can't remember who did answer and who didn't, but those that didn't answer, we just covered the first section, and I know we didn't go into the films in depth, and I just showed them and basically commented off them a little bit. But can you share with me, anybody that didn't answer last week, what you got out of the section on respect, if at all? And maybe showing the films was just a waste of time, and it's been good because we've been talking about it, but we didn't really learn that much. Any feedback so that we know how much has it made any difference whatsoever?
I have a question.
Yeah.
It seemed like a lot of the focus on respect was about empathy and sort of learning to understand where someone's coming from in order to then respect them. I guess my question is, why is it respect particularly that we're teaching and not empathy, and not to just like to, or just to love other people? Why particularly respect that? And just trying to understand.
That's a fantastic question. So first of all, actually, the first is, although we touched on empathy and other things, that is coming up. Listening, kindness, care, respect. That's went on the heart section, and actually in the head section as well. We'll be dealing with those. But the highest level of the 4-H system is the humanity being. And I guess, I think, Shira, you made the comment on I'd like to be on the wall when studying with Mufta, because I have my Muslim friend studying 2 hours. It wasn't Shira?
It was the other Shira. It was the other Shira.
It was another Shira. Okay, never mind then. So I can change. I think in this day and age, there's a lot of left-wing fighting right-wing, Arabs fighting Jews, rich, poor, government, plebs, and the list is long. And I think before one gets into the empathy, the first goal of Loving World is to create a sense of everybody is very important. So there's actually a story I just came over this week which triggered that idea, so much so I ended up fitting it into the next video, and because it happened to be the next video and into the book. And we're going into compassion is the next video. And it goes like this, and see if you can answer it. Suppose you have 30 kids in the room, and you give each kid a balloon, and you ask each kid to write their name on the balloon. And then you throw the balloons in the air, and they're all mixed up in the classroom. And then you ask all the kids to get their own balloon back. They're all the same color balloons. So, and you say, go for it. And I'm going to time how long it's going to take for you to get your balloons back. So how long do you think, roughly, it will take a class of 30 kids to get their balloons back when they're all randomly mixed up in the classroom? How long do you think it'll take, roughly?
A long time.
Roughly.
5
Okay.
minutes.
An hour.
Half an hour? Shira?
Shira said 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Sands? Nikki? Happy Ann?
I think 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay. So now, anybody else? Sands, yes? How long roughly?
10-ish.
10-ish. So now you give
I think the kids would get sidetracked.
sidetracked. So now
I also think maybe some of the balloons might get burst.
some of the balloons might get burst, but we gave them extra special balloons that never get burst. So then they actually go ahead and do it, and say it takes 10 minutes. Then we say, have a discussion. Sorry. Then we say, have a discussion to determine, to see how you can get all the your own balloon back in less than a minute, the whole class. How would they do that?
Everybody picks up one balloon and gives it to the person it belongs to.
Ah, there you have it. There you have it. Everybody picks up just one balloon and then gives it to the person it belongs to. And then it will take less than a minute to get your own balloon back. That's all it takes. But it triggered the idea that if you want to solve the problem of spirituality or poverty or fundraising or any of the other issues in the world of studyings or climate change, the list is very long. Any of these topics, everybody's involved in the solution. Everybody is involved in the solution. And I'll give another example. Unfortunately, and I won't get the facts exactly right about this person, but it doesn't matter, it's the principle that counts. We had a member in our family who had a very bad leg, and he had like gout type of thing. So the doctors gave him these gout pills. And then a year later, he goes to the doctor and he says, gosh, I don't feel well. And the doctor measures his blood pressure and says, wow, you've got terrible high blood pressure. We've got to give you pills to bring down the blood pressure. And then those pills affected his liver. But the guy that was working on the blood pressure didn't know that the blood pressure was high from the pills of the foot. And the guy that affected the liver started giving him a third set of pills, which gave him a heart problem. And suddenly, the whole body, there was no holistic approach, because the heart doctor gave just for the heart doctor. So he passed away. But I can assure you, he passed away with a very healthy leg. But the point is that the leg doctor wasn't in contact with the heart doctor wasn't in contact with the liver doctor, and so on. And it was just not a holistic approach. So the first thing...
And this person was in a lot of pain.
And this person suffered a great deal. So all the problems, economy, greed, stabbings, etc., anything on the list, abuse, they're all so interconnected. Politics, it's just absolutely completely interconnected. So even now we have this program starting up in Gaza. I'm amazed. 5 schools, there's a whole 3-year plan, and we're launching it soon. Anybody interested in hearing more on a private level, because we don't want to publicize it, I'm happy to say about it. But I was amazed to hear about the infighting in the Arab world, because if they start doing it in Gaza, then the United Arab Emirates that just made peace with Israel, they may get a bit of affronted because Gaza's taking the lead and they want to take over because of another thing with Turkey. And it was just like listening to these doctors. So basically, the point of respect of everybody in the humanity being is, and that's true of the South African government, who are not necessarily, transparent with the way all the funds are being spent. And it's true of all these issues. They're all so absolutely fundamentally interconnected. So we're just starting out with the basic premise that there's a light in everybody, and painful behavior comes from people in pain. and we've got to be utterly positive in helping each other find that light. And it's just a way of looking at the world. So now I've learned a very recent technique, which is actually proving to be fantastically successful for me. I actually am doing it much more. Instead of when I hear bad stories, I'm practicing. I'm new at it, but I think I'm going to master it. And when I hear these bad stories, I get so caught up, I get angry about them, and I get frustrated, and I get caught into the tension of the discussion. So now I'm just looking at myself I'm on the moon, and I'm looking down, and David's hearing a bad story. And then there's other people at the other end. I'm speaking to Mufti here, and then my wife there. I'm just looking at the whole scene. I can still feel the pain and the pleasure of humanity, but I realize that it's all so absolutely interconnected. So before going into the details of how you make good communication, we felt we needed to start off with the big vision that everything, absolutely everything, is interconnected. And when you realize that, then you can start talking about the details of how you make good communication. And we found that with kids, when they see this big picture, they suddenly say, oh, you know what? Now I want to start communicating with all these different parts and getting involved. That's a process of starting with the big picture and then working in the direction of empathy. Because in the end, I asked this question, and I'll ask you, and I think I've asked this one before, but so you may know the answer, but is love good or bad? Shira. Good. Okay. Shira, what do you say?
I think in the wrong context, it's good in the right context, basically.
Right. So that's I think, I don't want to put Joyce on the spot there, but I'm going, if you don't mind, Joyce, a little bit in the Shira direction. Please forgive me on that one. And why?
You asked Shira that before.
But I asked Shira that before. I remember Shira gave the same answer.
I would take Michael Jackson as an example of maybe why, just as an example of maybe why it can be used badly. Someone like that's just a bit misguided with their love.
Okay, but now that you've said something misguided, tell me one good thing about Michael Jackson.
Oh, I think he's fantastic. He's a great musician, and he's just full of love as well, which is amazing. And how he cared for everyone was unbelievable.
Great.
Also, parents over-loving their kids, maybe not wanting to put any boundaries in place because they love them too much. I guess that's not love. I don't know. Well,
the classic. Sorry, Joyce, did you want to say something? I saw a hand.
No, I was just saying that I think, for example, I love Michael Jackson. Also, I think he was an amazing musician, but I don't think he knew what the word love was. So, I think that's the difference. There's different interpretations of love. So when you ask the question, that's why I think Shira said what she said, because there's so many ways to look at love, because you think it's abused or not abused, but maybe that's not really love then. Maybe there should be another word.
So let's jump into, you can't define these words perfectly, but let's jump into it. How would you sort of roughly, without pinning you down to a perfect definition, and I know you haven't thought about it ahead of time, and I'm talking a lot so that you can anticipate my question, because I'm going to be asking shortly, so how would you define love? And I'm keeping talking a little bit more to give you a bit more space to think while I am asking the question, because I'm going to ask you very shortly, just so that we can then ask you and develop this idea. Joyce, how would you sort of roughly basically define sort of what is?
And also, just to add to that, to give you a little bit more time to think about it, it is one of the 8 virtues in Loving Classroom, because we call it Loving Classroom, we don't call it something else classroom. So one of the virtues is love, and we discuss in that chapter, in that class, what is love, and we discuss different definitions as well, and then eventually come to some sort of suggested conclusion, but you don't have to agree with the suggested conclusion. You can come up with something else. That's fine.
I was going to say the suggested conclusion, so I'm keeping quiet. That is exactly what I was going to say. So I'll just
Well, too late. You said something now, Nikki. You're on the radar.
Yeah, but it's what
So-
you said because it resonates.
But anyway, I do want to say that if
Joyce, you're getting a lot of time
if
here.
Joyce does come up with some sort of definition, it's okay. We're not going to have a go at you, and we're not going to be judgmental. Why do you say that? You know, that's wrong. There's there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
And David does this a lot, actually. I mean, I lived with him for many years, and he jumps up to me. What's your definition of something like? You know, I was always walking around with a definition of something like that, and he suddenly says to me, "What's yours?" And I said, "Well, I have to think about it first." So you're welcome to think, and if you didn't express exactly what you wanted, it's really okay.
With that in mind, would you like to share with us, Joyce? Do you have any
okay.
sense of how you define love?
So I can go. So growing up, I did not feel love at all. So I didn't know what it was or was able to put a definition on it until I met my husband. And for the first time, I felt fully loved. I felt somebody saw me for who I am and for what I'm worth and my value. And I think that's how I see love for other people. It's like my heart sees them and for who they are, no matter what. And I love them. But I don't know really how to define it. I can just say from my experience how I came to love.
Well, thank you for sharing. That was amazing and very moving.
Also, I think it also has to do when it's a piece of you. So like your children are a piece of you or a part of you, and your husband's a part of you. Like instinctively, you will love them. Well, you should love them. Maybe it doesn't always happen.
So I'm jumping to, I feel through the humanity being, I'm trying to give the energy, we're trying to give the energy that everybody is a piece of you. Every single human being is a piece of you. And if somebody's speeding, I'm speeding. If somebody's abusing, I'm abusing. And that's why actually in the Jewish prayer, we always say, in the plural, we say, whatever. Anyway, but I appreciate your definition enormously. And if I can sort of like add to that, actually before that, Nikki, what were you going to say if you had something on your mind?
Well, you said in the book that love is an experience of being one.
Right, which is actually amazing that what Joyce, and I broke it down to head, heart, and hand as well. So on the head hand, again, don't pick me up on how nicely I phrase it. It's just a general idea. Love, I feel, and I may be wrong, but at least it gives us a sense of, did Michael Jackson do this? So on a head level, love is when I really value, appreciate, understand, and value the person. That's what you said, Joyce. Mm-hmm. So head, it's not only understanding the person and appreciating them, but it's also valuing them. That's an intellectual thing. So last birthday for Nomi, we gave you whatever her age was. It was something like 45. We gave her 45 reasons why we love her. And
but there were many more reasons he wrote down.
But I'm saving that for her 46th birthday. So, and so on. So we wrote down those reasons on the head level. And each reason, it wasn't just you're clever, you're smart, you're pretty, or whatever. It was a specific thing she did, which makes you feel, wow, she's lovable. So, for example, and I can't remember which stories I did. I remember when we first got married, we went out to some sort of meeting, which was a very good meeting. And we were coming home, and I think it was 10 o'clock at night. And I was sort of like dancing in the streets, like, woo, this is good, yeah. And Nomi said to me, well, you know, the neighbors around, maybe they want to go to sleep. And I was like, oh, I love her. She is so utterly always thinking about other people and me as well. I mean, you know, but that I had to, and I was like, and I put that on the list that she thinks about people all the time. It's incredible. She doesn't stop thinking about people around her. And that makes me appreciate her. And then I understand how her actions and everything she does revolves around this quality of being aware of people around her. And then so on the headline, I wrote down 46 things like that. And Tehila, our daughter, joined in. and we did it together. And so I understood on the head level. And then on the heart level, there were two things. First of all, I worked on somehow feeling excited by being in the presence of such greatness. And I know that when Nomi, actually, she was saying about coming home late, but I know there was that sound of Nomi pulling up in the driveway. I get so excited when I hear the car park. It's just so exciting. My friend's coming home. And I work on that as well as being natural. Sometimes one has to just work on feeling it in the heart and finding some ability to attach all those theoretical, intellectual qualities and feel it. And the other thing is that it may sound like I'm a robot. I'm not a robot, but we make sure that I know Nomi does this for me, but I totally want her to be fulfilled. I'm trying to understand what she's meant to be doing. She wants to know what's my role in life, and she's still searching. So I try and help, and we talk it through. And I just want her to succeed. That's on the heart level. And on the hand level, as Nomi would say, the famous line, it's nice that you say I love you, but the dishes are dirty. So how do I convert all the good thoughts and feelings into action? Not just cleaning the dishes, but just doing things that demonstrate it's not enough to just say I love you. So those were the three levels of head, heart, and hand. So on the ultimate H, it's we are one soul. As Aristotle said, we're one soul in many bodies. So we, Nomi and I, and all of us actually, are one soul. We are one soul. And when I look at you, I know we are one soul. And from my soul, you get everything I can possibly give you. There's a real love there. And in this soul that I'm sitting with here, we are one soul. And that's expressed in understanding the qualities of this person I'm sitting next to, the feeling it, and then doing it so that I'm not just all talk. And now we can apply that to Michael Jackson. Did Michael Jackson see good qualities in other people? Did Michael Jackson feel good about those people and want them to succeed? And did Michael Jackson do something to try and help those people? I know he made mistakes, but if he ticks those three boxes, then that's a level of love. And I think everybody has, on a certain level, can tick those boxes on a certain level. Some more, some less. But that's the question. Is there anybody that can't tick those boxes at all?
I'd like to say a few things. The first thing is that Joyce mentioned about not feeling love early on in her life, but definitely learns what is required, what is love, what she felt and what she was required to do when she met her partner. And then of course you transferred that to your children. You said there's a bit of me, but then we can look, so you can learn to love. You learn to love via experience. And the same way Maxine, she loves her kids, even though sometimes she might feel like she wants to throttle them, but she learned to love somebody who wasn't part of her, that suddenly came in from the outside but needed love. And so what we're saying in Loving Classroom is that you can learn that. And this week, actually on Friday, I was while I prepare for Friday night meals and Sabbath, I often listen to radio, and I turned on this time, and listened to the army radio in Israel. It's called Galei Tzahal, and there's a program that plays music for particular soldiers, and it's called Kolosh El Ima, and they call up the mum of one of the soldiers, and the mother says, "Oh, I love my son, he's here, he's stationed somewhere, and I hope I can speak to him." And sometimes they get the two of them together and they say hello, and she says, "Oh, how much I love you," and everything, and then they play a piece of music. But anyway, the interviewer of this program, she said, I didn't even hear the program, I just heard her introduction, was what a difficult week we've just had. So in Israel last week, it was a very difficult week, because down south on the borders, there have been more rockets. You probably don't know about that. It's not reported on your news. But I have this little app on my phone, and it goes bzzz, like when a rocket comes in. So that was down south, and also there have been incendiary balloons being sent off to various places, and they get to places near to where Reuben's living, and like sometimes, you know, not too far from where Miriam Simca's living, and occasionally they come to like where we live, but not that many. And so that's not love coming our way. Then there was an incident of abuse of little children in a kindergarten. That's not love. Okay, and finally, like this is, I don't know whether it made news as far as where you live, but it was huge news in Israel. There was an incident of a 16-year-old girl being raped by 30 men in a hotel in Eilat, which was, and then, you know, the discourse is like, how can all this happen? Like, how can we let this happen? Like, you know, what's happening, that women are so not respected. A young girl is not respected. That's why we have this, like, you know, you must respect other people. And that's like the very first thing. And I saw yesterday, I was like a little bit on Facebook, and somebody wrote something to do with this subject. And it was a whole long thing about like, yeah, but, you know, it's mostly boys that are doing it, and, you know, and who's telling the boys. And so who should be telling the boys about this? That's why we need Loving Classroom. You need to learn what love is and how to love. And that's why we're coming with this, and we are asking you by going this, like, are we teaching it the right way? So we really, really value your feedback on this, because we want to know that, like, you know, it'll work as a preventative for these, you know, whether it's terrorist war type things, whether it's taking advantage of little children because they can't fight back, or whether it's taking advantage of a young woman. We are looking to bring love to people and respect and all the other virtues that we talk about in Loving Classroom as a unifier, and to.
So I know people aren't talking that much, and we've finished time, so I'm going to jump in with one exercise based on what Nomi said. So see if you can do it from memory. Write down the 3 boxes of head, heart, and hand, how that defines love. And then see if you can tick those 3 boxes for 3 people. And next week, share with us how you did it, that you were able to identify a good quality in somebody that you don't normally identify a good quality in. How you were able to lift your heart to really feel like, woo, something for that person, that they should be well. And then what did you do to help that person succeed in life? What did you do to actually help them? And they can be
post that on the group, those 3 things, so just so we can read it.
Nomi will post them on the group, and then come back, be able to tick those boxes, because that's what the kids do. We'll give a second, maybe a finish off with Tulani, because Tulani's patiently can't see you there. But Tulani, does this stuff work in schools or doesn't it? Do you have a definition? Love, would you please finish off this session, Tulani?
Thank you, David. You caught me off guard there. Yes, definitely it works at school, in schools. One kid, actually, when we asked what is the definition of love, one kid, which touched me a lot, wrote that love, and this is straight from the kid, when you say you love someone, it's not loving a person because of what they have, who they are, what status they have, but is loving them if they can strip off all the status, everything that they have, and we are still able to say, I love this person because this person is a human. It's a human being in this earth, and that really touched me. And because most of the time, more especially in schools, kids love other kids because of what they have, what they bring in their life, what they bring into the classroom, and so forth. But one kid said, if they can strip all of those things off and put this person here, will you still be able to love this person? And if the answer is yes, that was her definition of what love is.
Well, that's a good way to finish. That's brilliant. Yes.
To go back, I think the stories that Nomi just told, all those situations, there was a complete lack of respect. And that's why I think those happen. And that's when I think respect comes in. Because
Right.
the fact that those boys
That's why we start with respect and work our way to downwards, as it were, through the chain to the emotion, from the head to the heart to the hand.
Yeah.
It's because you can't jump straight into love, but this is a very respectful group, so we can do that. Yes, Nikki?
Maxine, would you mind if you share the recording of what you said on the group? Because I know Simone couldn't join tonight, and she would love to hear this. What your story is. Is that fine?
Hi. Nikki, you know me. Not so well, but I love to share, and I wouldn't share anything that A, wasn't mine to share, or B, wasn't mine to share. So with pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Okay, fine. Very good. Excellent. So thank you very much. And in the spirit of Thulani's words, love you all. See you next week.
Bye.